How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Flo, and today we're doing a complete hammer tutorial for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Like every other weapon in Sunbreak, hammer is now more complex and varied than ever, and if you're a newcomer to the series, you might find it a bit daunting at first. But rest assured that the game doesn't expect you to learn everything in one go, as you pick up a lot of these skills while progressing through the game. Before we begin the tutorial, a very brief overview of the hammer. It's a blunt weapon. It does not cut tails, it can stun monsters, aim for the head to deal stun damage. You should almost always aim for the head when using the hammer. So let's begin this tutorial by covering hammer's basic moves, after which we will go into charge attacks, and lastly the switch skills. First we have the hammer's draw attack, which you can perform by pressing X while moving forward. This attack is not that strong, so it's not something you should be aiming to use a lot in a hunt. You can also perform a follow-up attack by pressing X again. Next up, we have the basic combo, which we perform by pressing the X button 3 times. This sees you perform 2 overhead smashes and a final hit called the upswing, but we're gonna go ahead and refer to this move as a golf swing to avoid confusion, because hammer happens to have another attack that is also called an upswing. The golf swing is the strongest hit in this combo, and it deals good KO damage. You can also go into the basic combo after your draw attack follow-up. Basically, once you perform the draw attack, just keep pressing X. The next attack is called a side smash. You perform a side smash by pressing A. This move is fast, but it's weak, and it has a very small hitbox. You can use the side smash as a way to speed up your basic combo by pressing AXX. The reason why you want to do this is just so that you can get to the golf swing a little bit faster. The side smash also leads into the Big Bang combo. You can perform this combo by continuing to press A 4 times after a side smash. The Big Bang combo deals a lot of damage, especially the last attack, but your attacks must connect with a monster in order for the combo to complete. Because of that, the best and only time to use it is when you have a large opening either from a KO, a trap, or any other situation in which the monster is immobilized. Now let's talk about charge attacks. You can charge your hammer by holding and releasing ZR. Your charge attacks have 3 levels that are signified by a change in the hammer's glow. Now take a look at this yellow icon here. This icon represents your charge state. The yellow charge state is just your standard hammer charge. If you press A while holding ZR, you switch into a blue state. This is called charge switch strength. Your charge attacks in this state have different animations compared to the ones in yellow charge and deal a bit more damage. You can switch back to yellow charge at any point by once again pressing A while holding ZR. You can also unsheath your weapon by pressing or holding ZR, which sees you going straight into a charged attack. For now, let's press ZR and A to switch back to our strength charge, and let's go over the strength charge attacks. This is your level 1 charge attack. You can perform it by either tapping or holding ZR for a very short period of time. It doesn't do a lot of damage on its own, but if you press X immediately after, you can perform a follow-up hit that is much more powerful. Continuing to press X leads into your basic combo. You can press ZR at the end of your basic combo to go into an infinite loop. You can actually go into a charge after any of the 3 hits from your basic combo if you wish to do so. You can follow up a level 1 charge attack with a side smash as well and go into your Big Bang combo. This is your level 2 charge attack. It's called the upswing. You'll know it's ready when you hear a sound effect and your hammer glows slightly brighter. It comes out fast, deals okay damage, and has good stun values. It can also be followed up with your basic combo attacks or your Big Bang combo if you feel like you have a big enough opening. Now let's take a look at the level 3 charge. Your level 3 charge comes in 2 forms, depending on whether you're stationary or moving when you release it. If you're moving around, you perform what is called a step smash. It's a very fast and powerful charged attack with high damage and stun values. It covers good distance, and it's really useful to get in and out quick when you only have a small opening. The second form of your level 3 charge, if you're stationary when you release the charge, you will perform a charged brutal Big Bang. This is the hammer's strongest charge attack and has very high stun values. You should always be looking for openings to land this one. Both Step Smash and Charged Brutal Big Bang are vital parts of Strength Hammer's toolkit in Sunbreak, and the single deciding factor for when you should use one or the other is just how big of an opening you have. Now let's move on to your charge attacks in Yellow Charge. Remember, you switch by pressing A while holding ZR. Notice how the animation for switching from blue to yellow specifically is rather fancy, and that's because there are some hidden perks. When you switch from blue to yellow, it takes you straight into a level 3 yellow charge. Not only that, but this animation is also a dodge, meaning it has invincibility frames. Time it right and you can avoid a monster's attack and punish them with your own. For now, let's take a look at the charge attacks in Yellow Hammer. Your level 1 charge is practically the same as the one in Strength, except that it deals slightly less damage. The follow-up attack is faster, but once again, slightly weaker than Strength Hammer. Level 2 is also a weaker upswing. Your level 3 stationary is a charged Big Bang. It deals less damage than charged Brutal Big Bang and even slightly less damage than a Step Smash. You really never want to actively go for this attack unless you feel like it's your only choice in that specific situation. On the other hand, your level 3 while moving is quite powerful and it also has some very strong follow-ups, but it requires a large animation commitment. This is called the Spinning Bludgeon, and believe it or not, there are 3 hammer moves that unfortunately have Spinning Bludgeon in their name. I hope you won't find it too confusing when we get to the other ones. This move sees you spinning your hammer around at high speed, and by pressing X during this spin, your hunter will perform an attack that's more powerful depending on how many spins you have performed. If you press X after 1 spin, you will perform a side smash. After 2 spins, you will perform a spinning follow-up, and between 3 and 4 spins, you perform a spinning strong upswing, or as I like to call it, the golf swing. And if you don't press anything at all, you lose control of the hammer, and there's a pretty bad end lag at the end of this animation, so you really don't want to do this. The coolest part about this attack is that you can go into a Big Bang combo immediately after the charge, and it skips parts of the combo depending on the level of the hit you finish your charge at. After pressing X to finish the spin, simply press A to go into your Big Bang combo. If you perform it after 1 spin, it doesn't skip any moves. After the spinning follow-up, it skips 1 move, and after the golf swing finisher, it skips 2 moves. This combo requires a lot of commitment but deals good damage, so you're really not likely to perform it at any other time than when the monster is incapacitated by a trap or stunned. There are probably still better choices out there damage-wise, but it's not too shabby. Now let's very briefly cover jump attacks. Jump attacks are once again very situational. You may occasionally use one when the monster is in an area below you, or if the monster is in the air. You can perform a jump attack by either jumping off a ledge or wire bug dashing in the air. You can either do it with your weapon sheathed or unsheathed. If you dodge while you're near a ledge, your hunter will perform a jump while your weapon is unsheathed. You can then charge your hammer and change direction mid-air. You will also perform a jump if you're charging your hammer while going off a ledge. With your weapon sheathed, simply dash off the ledge and you'll perform a jump. You can perform an X attack and follow it up any way you like once you land, or if you're performing an aerial charge attack, you can perform a follow-up once you land by pressing X. This follow-up's attack power depends on the charge level you manage to achieve before landing. Now we're going to go over the hammer switch skills and Silkbind attacks. We'll do this more or less in the order that you unlock them in the game. You start the game with 2 Silkbind attacks. These are Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon and Impact Crater. Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon is performed by pressing ZL and X. It's a good gap closer, it costs 1 wire bug, and it deals great damage. It's good for monsters with heads high up like Arzuros, Lagombi and Volvidon, and it's also good to use when monsters are airborne, as long as you know you're not gonna get hit. You can charge this attack either by charging your hammer prior to pressing the button inputs for it, or pressing the button inputs for it and then charging your hammer. You can also dodge out of it while charging, but it will still consume your wire bug. Now let's talk about Impact Crater. You perform it by pressing ZL and A, and it is the single highest damage move for the hammer in the game. It costs 2 wire bugs, it has a very high animation commitment, and it deals a truckload of pain. And it can and should always be performed when your hammer is fully charged. You can perform an Impact Crater without any charge, but the damage is doo-doo trash for the cost of a long ass wind up and 2 wire bugs. Never ever perform an Impact Crater without charging your hammer. You can also perform it when your hammer is at a level 2 charge, and this is okay, but you should always aim for the fully charged Impact Crater. Going back to a point I made earlier about switching from blue to yellow charge, if you remember, when we switch from blue to yellow, our hammer gets instantly charged to level 3. This is a quick way to get to a fully charged Impact Crater. If the monster is down, switch to yellow, instant fully charged Impact Crater. If you know you can dodge an attack and the monster has a long enough wind down period after, switch to yellow, fully charged Impact Crater. The next Silkbind we are going to cover is Dash Breaker. Dash Breaker becomes available as soon as you either unlock 3-star village quests or 2-star hub quests. you can swap Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon for it at your item box. Dash Breaker, much like Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon, can be charged, either prior to performing it or after you press the inputs for it. You can also dodge out of it, although it's really unnecessary because Dash Breaker has Hyper Armor, which means that you'll be able to go through the monster's attack without being interrupted, but you still take some damage. You don't have Hyper Armor while charging, only while you're dashing forward. Once the animation completes, your charge level is maintained into a follow-up attack that you can perform by pressing ZR, or alternatively holding ZR for a bit as you reposition and then release. The Hyper Armor does not make you immune to elemental blights and status ailments, so you have to be careful not to end up getting paralyzed by Kezu's electric balls while attempting to dash break through them. Speaking from personal experience. All in all, it's cool in theory, but poor in execution, so I don't really recommend this move, especially not at Master Rank. It can be okay for a few certain matchups, but I'd almost always choose the alternatives. Next up, Water Strike. You unlock Water Strike by completing the HR5 quest called Honing Your Hammer. This move replaces your Side Smash, and I really mean that. I personally recommend to never touch Side Smash again once you unlock Water Strike. Water Strike is a parry that you can perform by pressing A. It can parry pretty much every attack except some final boss one-shot Novas, but those can't really be blocked by anything anyways. If you time it correctly, you take no damage, no status or elemental blights, and you can either follow it up with a Golf Swing or go into a charge attack. You might find the parry window a bit tricky at first, but it really just becomes second nature once you get the hang of it. You can perform a Water Strike quickly after any hammer attack except your level 3 charges and your Golf Swings. This means that you can perform it during your basic combo or after a level 1 or 2 charge attack. Naturally, you can't combo it after Silkbind attacks such as Impact Crater and Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon. You should always dodge at the end of those attacks. You can still use it normally to start your Big Bang combo, but you can no longer use it as a start to your X combo like you could with the Side Smash, which is really not a huge loss. Next up is Charge Switch Courage, or as Hammer Bros like to call it, simply Courage Hammer. You unlock it by crafting or upgrading a total of 8 unique hammers. This is a very easy requirement, so you're likely to actually unlock Courage Hammer before Water Strike, but I wanted to cover Water Strike first because of how it synergizes with Courage Hammer. But let's first go over the basics. Courage Hammer replaces your Strength charge. Your yellow charge remains completely unaffected. The blue charge, however, is drastically altered. Courage Hammer allows you to reach stronger charge levels by comboing charge attacks consecutively one after another. It's less about running around while charging your hammer, and more about comboing the monster in the face with charge attacks. If you try to charge your hammer by just holding ZR, you only get a stronger version of a level 1 charge that deals an additional hit of damage. Whether you fully charge your level 1 hit or not, you can immediately press ZR to follow it up with a level 2 charge. This one charges fully almost instantly, yielding you that additional hit of damage. You barely have to hold it for a second, if even that. If you're running the skill Focus level 3, your level 2 charge gets fully charged literally instantly, you just have to give ZR a tap. And naturally, you can press ZR again to finish the combo with a level 3 charge. This one is fully charged from the get-go. You can still hold it and run around with it if you need to reposition, it's not a static combo. The additional hits from the charged attacks have high elemental and status modifiers, making the Courage Hammer playstyle a great choice for elemental and status builds. You can also perform a follow-up attack by pressing X after doing your level 1 charge. This is considered to be a part of the charge attack, as you can continue into a level 2 charge from it. When going from one charge level to the next, you can very briefly perform a dodge and still maintain your charge level, but you have to do it immediately after transitioning to the next charge. You can also go into a level 2 charge from the second overhead smash. And you can also go into a level 3 charge from the Golf Swing, which if you remember, we can perform a Golf Swing after the basic combo or following up a Water Strike. Alternatively, when performing Water Strike, you can forego the Golf Swing and follow up with a level 2 charge. And this is what makes Water Strike an indispensable part of Courage Hammer. And it could also be the reason why some players, when going from Strength to Courage, have a hard time adjusting, because while Strength is more about running around with your charged hammer, waiting for the right opportunity to unleash a powerful blow, Courage is more about waiting for the right opportunity to parry and counter, or at least that's how I interpret it. Now let's talk about all the ways you can reach a fully charged Impact Crater with Courage Hammer. Since the level 1 charge is still considered level 1 even when fully charged, you might assume that charging it all the way doesn't give you a fully charged Impact Crater, but it does. So does the level 2 charge as long as you wait for the hammer to glow whitish blue, which if you remember charges up almost instantly, and naturally so does the level 3, which is fully charged from the get-go. When you pair this information with all the ways charged attacks are weaved into our combos, you can see how Courage style opens up so many doors to punish monsters with Impact Crater. Now let's move on to all the new switch skills we receive in Sunbreak. As soon as we start Sunbreak, we receive a new skill called the Spinning Bludgeon Charge. We also receive 2 more skills called Impact Burst and Keeping Sway after completing a specific urgent quest at Master Rank 4. So let's begin with the Spinning Bludgeon Charge. At first glance, this new move might not look like much, but there's a lot more than meets the eye here. Well, let me just show you. Spinning Bludgeon Charge allows you to practically chain fully charged attacks infinitely. When you perform the attack, during the attack's animation you can hold the right trigger to store charge into your hammer. This charge then carries over when you switch back into your blue state, allowing you to infinitely chain charged attacks. You can either hold ZR to charge, release to perform the attack and quickly hold ZR again, or you can hold ZR to charge and press X to release the attack while continuing to hold on to ZR to charge your hammer. You can interrupt this attack at any point during its animation by pressing A, the same button that you press to switch in between blue and yellow. The hunter will then perform a quick repositioning spin, which has a very small window of iframes just like going from blue to yellow. The charge level that you interrupt the move at carries over into the next charge, whether it's strength or courage. If it's uncharged, it will perform a level 1 charge. If it's at level 2, it will perform a level 2, and if it's at level 3, you get the point. Just remember to always charge during the attack, otherwise you can perform the entire thing, switch back to blue, and get a measly level 1 charge. Wah wah. This attack might feel a bit unwieldy at first. You're probably gonna whiff a few times until you get used to it, but once you get the hang of it, this thing is awesome and so much fun to use. Just keep in mind that when you release the attack, your hunter takes a somewhat large step forward. If you're mindful of this, you'll never miss. It's also great for covering distance too. The invincibility frames are the same as switching from blue to yellow, very tight, but slap on a bit of evade window and it'll be much easier to time it. Or evade extender and you won't need to worry about timing it at all because you dodge into another country. Again, it might not look like much at first, but don't sleep on this attack. It's honestly great. It gives hammer more options and it's just really a lot of fun to use. It also happens to synergize really well with the next move we're about to cover, Impact Burst. Impact Burst is pretty self-explanatory. It replaces Impact Crater, you perform it the same way, ZL and A, and it costs only 1 wire bug. It's an attack and a buff all in one move. It buffs all of our charge attacks, giving us an additional burst of damage in the form of a mini shockwave, and it lasts for exactly 1 minute. It synergizes super well with both Courage and Strength Hammer, especially considering the fact that we can pretty much chain charge attacks indefinitely in both Strength and Courage. What's there not to like? It works on all of our charged attacks, including the Silkbind attacks like Impact Crater, Silkbind Spinning Bludgeon, and Dash Breaker if you're into that. Your follow-up attacks from your level 1 charge receives the additional shockwave damage as well. The damage buff we receive from Impact Burst only scales with our raw attack values. It does not have any elemental or status benefits. Well, that's Impact Burst covered. Overall, another awesome move added to our arsenal. Now this next one is my absolute favorite. Keeping Sway is an incredibly awesome new addition to the hammer. It's very simple to use and it has great perks. You perform it by pressing ZL and X, and it uses 1 wire bug. It's a very quick evasive maneuver that allows us to maintain our charge level. On top of it, our stamina also recovers during its animation, and it has invincibility frames from beginning to end. It has a fast wire bug recovery as well, so as long as you manage your wire bug usage well, you always have Keeping Sway as an option. This move is seriously the best thing ever. It's offense and defense in one slick package. And that's all of Sunbreak's new switch skills covered. Now let's briefly discuss the new switch skill swap feature. As soon as you reach master rank, you learn how to perform a switch skill swap. This is a feature that allows you to swap between 2 different switch skill setups during combat. You can perform it by pressing ZL, X and A at the same time, and if you're in a bad spot, you can choose to dodge out of the way by pressing B immediately after swapping scrolls. You will find the concept of scroll swapping overwhelming at first, and rest assured that not using it in combat doesn't affect your ability to clear a quest in any way. It's simply an optional feature that makes gameplay more varied, and if there is a benefit to be gained from using it effectively with the hammer, it's very small. Although much later in the game, you will come across armor skills that give you buffs for switch skill swapping, but by then you'll be much more comfortable with performing it during combat. You can choose to keep completely different skills on each scroll, or you can make them identical and just use it as a free dodge. In my case, I'm almost constantly changing my scroll configurations before quests because it's just fun, it keeps things fresh, and I'm still figuring out what my favorite loadouts are. But there usually isn't much difference between my red and blue scrolls, and I don't switch skill swap too often during hunts. Sometimes the only difference between my scrolls is that one of them will have Strength Hammer and the other will have Courage Hammer. Other times one has Impact Burst and the other has Impact Crater. I find that if the scrolls differ too much, my little monkey brain gets confused. Your scroll configurations are all up to your personal preferences really. There is no right or wrong way to play the hammer, all that matters is that you're having fun with it. And there's also one last feature of the hammer that I should mention. If you're charging your hammer while you're on sloped terrain, your hunter will begin to slide down like so. If you release your charge during this slide, you can perform a mid-air spinning bludgeon. This was a feature that was introduced in Monster Hunter World, and it fit there. But in Sunbreak, it only gets in the way because it's usually always happening unintentionally. The maps in Rise and Sunbreak are flat by design, specifically the areas in which you fight monsters. You'll only find slopes at the edges of the maps, usually on the pathways that connect one area to another. On rare occasions, you and the monster somehow end up duking it out there, and it can be disastrous for you if you're not aware that you're about to start sliding around. The sliding animation is slow to cancel as it has this end lag where you let go of the analog stick and the hunter still takes a second until they stop moving. Also, if you press the dodge button, you'll end up jumping instead of dodging. That's an express ticket back to camp. In a game where the pace of combat is drastically faster than ever before, you can get messed up pretty badly by slopes. So my suggestion is, if you and the monster end up near a slope, simply move away. It's a rare problem as it really doesn't happen too often, but it's a problem nevertheless. But I don't think players are bothered by it enough, so I don't expect the devs to do anything about it, especially not after Sunbreak's release. Other than that, hammer is the best weapon, chef's kiss. This concludes my hammer tutorial for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has helped you. There is a very good chance I may have missed something since hammer is more complex than it's ever been, but please feel free to let me know in the comment section what I missed, and I'll try to put all of the information in a pinned comment. Lastly, I'd like to mention that I've received some very supportive comments recently, and for that I am very grateful. But to be 100% transparent with you, I cannot put out content at the same pace that other popular content creators can due to other commitments. Because of those other commitments, I also don't have as much time to play Sunbreak, so as much as I'd love to share endgame builds with you guys, I just barely got to the endgame 2 days ago. There is a lot that I still need to do in the game myself, and I want to make sure that the content I make is well informed, so it's going to take me a while before the builds come out. My aim is to upload about 2 to 3 videos a week. I appreciate your patience and support, and I hope you're having a blast with Sunbreak. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, take care, and happy hunting.